All right, and we are on air with Robert Thomson, a very good friend of mine. He is the company president of Four Winds Fantasy Gaming, and Four Winds is a gaming company out of Great Falls, Montana, U.S. role or USA-based role-playing game publisher that was formed in March 2009. The co-owners of the company, Robert and Connie Thompson, have over 40 years combined experience as gamers in tabletop role-playing games and are using that experience to bring quality new material to the hobby. Connie and Robert have made their home in Great Falls, Montana since May 2004. Connie's originally from McCluskey, North Dakota,
Yep.
and Robert is from Etowah, Tennessee.
Well, thanks for having
So,
me in.
indeed, and thank you for coming.
Yep, you
Um,
bet.
So currently, I do have information. You have previous experience in the industry, including co-authoring Western Seeds 1 and 2 for Expeditious Retreat Press
Yep,
back in 2006,
yep.
and then also assistant webmaster for the Valar project in 2002, and also being the website editor for Larry Elmore.
Exactly. Yeah, that was actually the first thing I ever did in the gaming industry was that for Larry.
All right. Let's see. I am waiting currently on audience questions. Just to start things off, what other things do we know about you, Rob? I actually know quite a bit, considering you are also the president of Sandbaggers Game Club in Great Falls, Montana.
Right.
And also, for people unaware of other conventions out there, you are also the committee president of the wow, Great Falls Gaming Rendezvous in Great Falls, Montana,
Right.
uh,
Right.
which had a very successful turnout this year
Yeah,
of
we
the.
were pleased with that to say the least.
Now, as far as that goes, is there anything in particular you'd like to talk about in regards to perhaps what it's like to be the president of a game club, or even the president of the Gifker?
Well, you know, between between the Sandbaggers and Great Falls Gaming Rendezvous, and then of course Four Winds Fantasy Gaming, it's gaming is pretty much a full time gig for me these days. Um, trying to uh, trying to run a small publisher that's actually trying to earn a place and actually make a living for myself, as well as doing these other two, which are completely, of course, volunteer basis. Um, it's a lot of work, but I'm very passionate about gaming, um, about all things geek. On no matter what type of game people play, RPGs or card games, board games, miniatures gaming, whatever they play. I'm very passionate about people being involved in gaming and doing their gaming, and so that's kind of why I do these things with Great Falls Gaming Rendezvous and the Sandbaggers, as well as my own company.
Indeed. And as far as it goes, you do have quite a few publications through Four Winds. Is there any in particular that you wanted to speak about? Any of those you're particularly proud of, or just any that were worth mentioning of significant note?
Well, as you said, we started the company in March of 2009. We published our first Pathfinder compatible product in August of that year. That was the Book of Arcane Magic, and it's that was our first book, and we've actually since did a slight revision on the book since August of 2009, to correct some mistakes and just make a few changes on it. But it's still probably one of my favorites, if for no other reason than it was our first, and that's what kind of got our name out there in the first place. So um, I'm happy about that, and I'm kind of proud of the book for that reason alone. And hey, it's 3.5 years old, but yet occasionally another 4 or 5 star review of it pops up, and so you got to be doing something right when a book that old is still getting purchased and getting good reviews. So um, I think the book that we've done that I'm happiest with overall is probably Leuven Lightfinger's Gear and Treasure Shop, which is basically a book of gear and equipment, and it's been our most successful book, our best selling book, our most well reviewed book, and it's one of those things that it's just it's full of just neat stuff that's completely unnecessary to a basic game, but it's the kind of fluff along with the accompanying crunch that a lot of gamers love. Those different weapons and all the details on different types of spices and foods and cloth and everything that so many gamers love. So I know it's definitely probably my favorite book that we have yet produced. So that one definitely. We've got a couple of projects in the works that we've done Kickstarters for just this year. Our first Mutants and Masterminds compatible product is going to be Deus Ex Historica, and that's coming very soon. It's been slightly delayed because of my wife's recent health issues, but she'll be back on that soon. She's the editor and layout artist for us, so she'll be back on that soon, and hopefully we can get that out. And then also CJ Ruby's Exploding Aces, which is going to be our very first fully original game system, which uses playing cards as the mechanic to resolve actions rather than using dice.
Okay, sounds good. As far as that goes, Exploding Aces was under playtest for quite a couple, I believe at least 2 years, was it?
Yeah, we play tested it for quite some time. It went through several iterations of the game as it changed over time. The mechanic actually started off as a traditional dice system using six-siders actually, and CJ just was not happy with it at all. He was he had concerns that he wasn't getting the results that he desperately wanted out of the game for that. He felt that it was too similar to a number of other systems that are already out there, and he was trying to find a way to make the system not only unique but to actually do what he wanted it to do, which was move fast, focus on the action, and let the players be the ones that are through role play that are driving the game. And so he was having a conversation, and honestly I don't remember who he was having the conversation with at this right now, and somehow the idea of cards came up, and he latched onto that, and he decided that's the way he wanted to go, and he told me he thought he could work it out, and he spent weeks working out the mechanics of how the cards would work, and would actually sit down with just a deck of cards and turn cards, and he had a notebook full of statistics and probabilities that he came back and showed me to prove that to use the title of this panel, there was method in the madness, and that it actually did work, and I was rather impressed with that. So we're very, very happy with what he came up with there.
Definitely. And as far as it goes, as far as your opinion on game design, is there any kind of particular maybe differing from other members of the company, is there any particular way you go about producing game material, or is there a kind of set in stone method that Four Winds uses?
Oh, there's no set in stone method for us. You know, for the longest time, and I say that like we've been around for ages, but for the majority of our short existence, it was primarily just Connie and I, with a pool of freelancers that we utilized for both design and art, and um, usually it would just be Connie and I sitting down and talking about a few things and saying what do we want to do and what do we want to create, and who do we want to try to get to work on it with us. And uh, because of some real life issues, Connie has a day job outside of the company, and because of some real life issues, we had to kind of make some changes. It's our production slowed down a bit, and we're trying to get back on pace right now. So I recently, in an attempt to try to get us some more a more solid basis of how we do the thing that we do, I recently named Sean O'Connor as our Pathfinder compatible line leader. Sean's been a freelancer writer, designer with us since our inception in 2009, and he knows the Pathfinder system very, very well. So I decided to name him our Pathfinder compatible line leader, and he's pretty much taken that, and we're going to be getting things back on track with more regular releases than we had, because we kind of let things slip for a little while, and we realized that, of course, but there were external forces at work that we really had no control over as a very tiny publisher with only 2 employees. So now we're changing that thing. We're getting to a more solid footing, and Sean is really the one that's helping lead that for us by being the line leader for that particular line. So
Okay, sounds good. Um, Currently, as far as a general question, um, were there any influences going into Four Winds Fantasy Gaming as far as maybe a style play you were hoping to modulate or emulate, or was it something of more kind of like personal, just wanted to go out and create?
I think a little of both. Um, the way Four Winds came about, really, and that's what this gets back to, is how the company came about. Was it was back when Paizo, uh, the publishers of the Pathfinder role-playing game, um, when they first announced that they were going to have a license for third-party publishers for the Pathfinder game. And they announced that back in early 2009, and Connie and I just kind of looked at each other and said, "You know what? Let's do this. We've talked about it for years, about wanting to do things in the game industry, and so let's do this. Let's jump on this. Let's create a company." We had a little bit of extra cash at the time, and so we did, and it was just something we wanted to do. We wanted to be a part of the gaming industry. We had ideas that we wanted to share beyond just our game group, and we wanted to get them out there amongst a wider audience. Those ideas. It's not so much that we thought, "Hey, these are the best ideas ever," as just we wanted to give people options. We wanted to say, "Hey, this is something that we like, and that we think you might too." And that's really where it came from initially. You know. Since then, there have been, since the company started, and we've moved forward from there. It's been more a case of what's going to be our next big thing. We had this, we've done that, we need to move forward, and that's part of the reason we started looking at things beyond Pathfinder. We're still going to continue to produce Pathfinder compatible material, but we don't want to be a one-trick pony. You know, we want to prove to people that we can do things beyond just Pathfinder material. Even though I love the Pathfinder system, and you know it's hugely popular right now, we want to show that there are other things we're capable of doing. That's why we're stepping up to a Mutants and Masterminds third edition compatible book. That's why we're going out with our own original game system. We want to expand what we're capable of and show people that we're capable of being a publisher that can do unique and individual things.
Okay. Going along with that, is there any other game systems you may be looking to accompany with, other publishers that you might wish to work with in the future for publishing material for their games, or are you looking to go more a original game system route, like, along the lines of Exploding Aces?
Exploding Aces is going to be a main one for us. CJ is going to be in charge of that line. But that said, and as I just said, we are going to continue with our Pathfinder compatible material. We've also been tossing around the idea of producing some Savage Worlds material as well. Savage Worlds is it's a great game system, and it's hugely popular. And they've got a license, so we've been tossing around the idea of possibly getting involved with producing some Savage Worlds material as well. So that's definitely something to look at. Our Deus Ex Historica, that's going to be Mutants and Masterminds compatible. We are also looking at the idea of releasing a version of that product that will be compatible with the Basic Action Superheroes game as well. So there are other game systems that have licenses that we are and will continue to look at as possible, as things that we can possibly work with. Yes.
Okay. And for general random questions, we have currently, is there any character that you've played in the past, just going off of role-playing experience, is there any character that you have any memorable experiences with, or maybe a favorite character?
One of my first characters ever, and I'm showing my age here. This was way back at the beginning for me. I started gaming in 1977, so the character, I probably created him. I don't remember specifically. It's probably in 79 or 80. I created this character. He's one of my earliest. A ranger named Ballard, and this was first edition AD&D, and he started off, we were originally playing in the world of Greyhawk, and somewhere along the way we switched from Greyhawk to a friend of mine's homebrew campaign, but I continued Ballard. We worked a plane travel thing in there so that I could keep playing him, and one of his many adventures, he was in a tavern playing, got into playing a card game with a group of half ogres, and they accused him of cheating, and he got his hand cut off, and it never got regenerated. So he was the the one-handed ranger, and had to give up shooting a bow because he couldn't hold a bow, obviously, with having only one hand. But he was a very memorable character for me, to the point that years and years later, probably close to a decade later, I recreated the character as a colorful NPC that a group of characters got to interact with. He gave them a little bit of assistance. Basically, they got teleported into his backyard and dropped into his horse pond, and so he was a retired guy by that time, and he was a little upset at being disturbed. But he got to give him a little advice, and and send them on their way that way. So that was kind of fun to to bring him back and reintroduce him that way. Um, so he's one of my earliest characters, one of my most memorable, one that stuck with me. Another memorable character for me, it was actually Leuven Lightfinger, which our book Leuven Lightfinger's Gear and Treasure Shop is named after. And he was an NPC actually that I used in a game I ran when we used to live in North Dakota years ago. And the characters, the players in that game, they absolutely loved Leuven. And so that's why when we created that book, we decided that it was going to be Leuven's shop that was the focus of all the gear and equipment in that particular book. So because he was so memorable to the players in that game.
Very interesting. Going back to game design here, general question in regards to any advice you would give to somebody looking to perhaps go into freelance work or perhaps get hired on by a game publisher such as Four Winds.
Send us, or not just us, but whoever you're interested in working for, send an email and make it a professional email. Send a cover letter, possibly even send a sample of your work. It doesn't have to be hundreds of pages, just a few paragraphs. And that's if you're a designer. If you're an artist, send a link to some of your art. But the main key, and I can't stress this enough, is be professional in all your communication. We get emails on a daily basis mostly from artists actually, but from also solicitations from potential designers and writers as well. And you would be surprised at the number that I get that are just so totally unprofessional in their approach. And even if you know the person, if you know the person that runs the company or would be the person that you're, even if they don't run the company, they're just the person that you would approach. Even if you know them personally in real life, be professional, treat it like you would any other job that you are trying to get. That's the start right there. That goes a long way. But start small with companies like Four Winds. There's others like Wright Publishing, Tricky Owlbear, that are small companies out there that are frequently looking for, for designers and writers, and just send something to them, ask them if they're interested. You never know what's going to happen. We have one of our books, or one of our more recent books, Incantations, was kind of like that. We were approached. It was a manuscript, and we said we'd take a look at it. We liked it, and we did some work on it ourselves. But that's one of the things that you do is you just gotta be professional. Contact people. Don't give up. If somebody says we don't need anything right now, we're not looking for new designers, that doesn't necessarily mean they don't like what you did. It just means that they're not necessarily looking to hire any new freelancers right now. So keep trying. Send your work to another company, and even if they say, hey, I don't like this, you could do some improvement, take their advice and make a few changes and send it to somebody else and see what they say. Because just because some person doesn't like it, some publisher doesn't like it, doesn't mean it's bad. It might just mean that it's not what they're looking for, not the type of stuff that they want to publish. Another thing is look for workshops. Great Falls Gaming Rendezvous, one of the things that we did was we held a game design workshop. And it's kind of unique. Some people have mentioned that they'd never seen anything like that before, but maybe things like this will start to take off. And we held this game design and workshop, and people submitted their ideas, and we had some professionals on the panel who critiqued the material and gave advice, and And then we actually ended up, what we did is we selected one from those that were in the workshop that was best, and Four Winds is actually going to give them a contractor to do a short PDF product. And we're hoping that this takes off and that different third-party publishers will be the sponsor of this every year. But that's another thing that you can look for, is look for things like that where people, Paizo has their little design contest every year. I assume they're going to do it again. Look around for things like that. Watch companies that are doing open calls, and a number of them will do open calls for game design. I think, in fact, I think Open Design, the publishers of Kobold Quarterly, which I just heard the news yesterday that Kobold Quarterly is no longer going to be published, but Open Design is. I recently saw an announcement that they were looking for open submissions for things. So, yeah, just get your name out there. That's the best thing, and especially if you're looking to eventually try to work for somebody like Paizo or Green Ronin or Wizards of the Coast, go to the small companies first. Those guys, they're the big names. They're probably odds on not going to pick up somebody who's never been published before right off the bat. Odds are they're going to want you to write for smaller companies first. So that's my advice on that.
Excellent insight there. To go along with that, I do have a question about generally, and I just lost it there. Well, actually, going along back to the artists, freelance artists, do you have any perhaps information you could give or advice you could give on hiring a freelance artist for a RPG project?
Is this hiring? Is this how we go about it, or is this a freelance artist wanting to be hired? Actually, the first thing I'll say, and this goes for everybody in the game industry, and I'm actually stealing this little line from my friend John Goff, who he works with Pinnacle Entertainment Group with the Savage Worlds role-playing game. But John once said, if you want to get hired in the game industry, learn to draw. Because artists actually have, there are so many artists out there. We get so many solicitations from artists on a daily basis, and artists make better money than writers and designers by far. At Four Winds, our biggest expense is with our artists, not with our writers, and so that so being an artist, it's a good thing. You're always in demand. If you are an artist and you want to get hired in the game industry, you're always in demand by somebody. If you want to get into the industry as an artist, it's basically the same thing as a designer. Send a link to your online portfolio, because almost everybody has one now. Be good at what you do. Get some honest critique about what you do before you try submitting to a bunch of game companies, and because you don't want people who aren't necessarily artists, even though they use art in their works. You don't want them to be your first critique. So get some critiques from other artists first, but submit your online portfolio. Send it in an email with a cover letter that's professional to these small companies. Start with them first. Don't go straight to the big boys, and let us take a look. Most of our artists that we use at Four Winds are people that we approached and asked, but there are a few of them that were either recommended to us by others, or they submitted their portfolio. We liked what we saw, and we said, "Hey, would you, do a few things for us?" So that's how you go about it, and what we look for at Four Winds, if that's the way the question was meant, what we look for at Four Winds is things that match our style. And if you've seen our books, then you know generally that our style is kind of a bright look. Where we use we like art with a lot of uh, we like our cover art with a lot of bright colors. We like our interior art that's primarily uh, a semi. I don't want to use the word happy because that sounds kind of cheesy, but um, we like things that pop off the page and make you feel good. I guess is the way to go. Is the way to say it. Um, we also at Four Winds we kind of like a throwback style of kind of a lot of our interior art that we use is kind of an old school art style. A lot of it looks more like some of the art that you would have found in some of your old school game books. First and second edition AD&D and things like that. And mostly that's because that's where we come from. But that's kind of what we like. But that's not what all game companies like. So if you are wondering what a game company is going to like, whether they're going to like your art and want your art, or if you're wanting to try to produce something specifically for them, look at their books, see what they have published already, look at the art in the books that they have already done, and see whether or not you can produce something like that. Because odds are, if they have a consistent look throughout most of their products, they're not going to make a left turn into a very different style of art. They're probably going to stick with what they look. If you look at Paizo's Pathfinder books, they're since 2009, it's a very unique look that they've all got, and it's a very consistent look. Same with us at Four Winds, same with Wright Publishing, same with Green Ronin. It's a very unique look, and it generally only changes if a game edition changes. Like you can at Green Ronin, when you look at their Mutants and Masterminds books, you can see how their art changes from their first edition to their second edition to their third edition of Mutants and Masterminds. So look at the line you want to produce art for and see if your art can match that general type and style of art that they publish.
Excellent. And actually, thinking about that, since you did bring up the older style of art for general reminding people of first and second edition, what's your opinions on D&D Next? That has been one of the reoccurring elements of this panel, even though that's been a reoccurring element in just the whole RPG community since it was announced.
Right. Personally, I like it. Um, I like it a lot. I've run two different games of D&D Next playtest, two different variations of the playtest material that was released, and I like it. I like it a lot, and that's actually saying a lot because I'm not a huge fan of fourth edition. I don't want to get into. I don't like edition wars. I don't like game bashing. People that like fourth edition, hey, more power to them. Anything that brings people to the table to play games, I am in favor of. And if that's the edition of the game that you like, dude, play it. That's great. It's just not my game. But fifth edition, man, I like what I'm seeing. I really, really do. I think Wizards of the Coast has won me back as a fan from what I'm seeing. To me, it feels like those early games that I used to play when I was a kid, but yet it's got a modern feel to it at the same time. And I think that's the key to making it viable. If they want to try to win market share back from Paizo and Pathfinder, I think they're going in the right direction with this because it really feels like a good game. So yeah, I like it, and that's saying a lot from me because I was really disappointed with fourth edition personally. So fifth edition, man, I am eagerly look forward to what the final product is going to look like.
Indeed, indeed. And actually, what is your opinion of the whole retro clone movement as of late? There's various games like, say, basic fantasy role-playing game, Troll Lord games, Castles and Crusades had Gary Gygax attached to it.
Right.
Then you had Labyrinth Lord. All sorts of those little guys putting out their own editions of kind of a updated first or second edition. Um, do you have any opinion on that? Is that something Four Winds may look into in the future, or?
I don't know about that. I think they're great. The only one that I have actually played has been the basic fantasy, and I like that a lot. It was a lot of fun. And it's got that old school feel of that kind of first edition feel to it, and it's a lot of fun. It's a simple system, which is what the game used to be. A very simple system that way. There's a lot of appeal in that. In the 90s and early 2000s, we went through this phase of an RPG can only be good if you add more and more rules to it to make it more and more realistic. And you got insane game systems out there that just have tables and charts of that you consult to find out exactly what happens every single time. And I think what we did is eventually it was like a rubber band, and we just stretched it too far, and people were like, no, I want simple games. And so that's really why I think a lot of people blame, or not blame, but they say that 4th edition is the reason for the old school revolution. And I don't think it's 4th edition that caused it. I think it's just the direction that a lot of RPGs were going, period, with kind of their too many rules. And people just want to sit down, create a character in 15 minutes, 30 minutes, and play the game and not have to look up rules every few minutes because they can't remember a 400-page tome. And I think that's part of what drove the old school revolution, was a desire to get back to those simpler games that were easier to play, easier to create characters for, easier to create adventures for. And I don't see it going away anytime soon, because I think people love that style of game, that quick style that they can just jump into, create a character, and play, and be playing very, very quickly that way. So I don't see it going away. That said, I don't see Four Winds doing anything with any old school games anytime soon. We've got, I'm going to be honest here. I'm trying to make a living, and with Four Winds, and I've got to publish the material that I think is actually going to bring in, some income. So that obviously right now is in Pathfinder. That is obviously also right now in other big game, producing material that's compatible with other big systems like Mutants and Masterminds, that I think is actually going to keep my company where I need it to be, and grow it. Maybe in the future, when we're a bigger company, and we're on more solid footing, we might go in that direction. But for right now, I don't see us jumping into the OSR arena right now.
Very good insights there. And actually, this kind of brings up the same fact of not only was Lucasfilm picked up by Disney not too long ago, they have been eyeing Hasbro as well. Hasbro, of course, owning Wizards of the Coast right now. Do you have any kind of idea what might possibly happen in the event that WotC and, by association, Hasbro are picked up by Disney, of all people? Would this probably affect our community in a bad way?
I don't think so. First of all, I know the story that you're talking about there. I remember reading it, but I've also read something since then where Hasbro firmly denied being up for sale. Very, very vehemently. In fact, they denied that they were up for sale. And as far as I know, Disney never confirmed that they were interested also. That said, even if Disney did purchase, I don't think it would impact the Wizards of the Coast that majorly. I really don't. If anything, I think it actually might be, if it happened, I think it actually might be good, because Disney has shown with their purchase of Marvel and with their purchase of Pixar that they are perfectly willing to say to the companies that they purchase, okay, keep doing what you do. let's do some good stuff and produce some good work, and you do that, and we'll basically fund you for it. That's what they did with Marvel. That's what they did with Pixar. The Pixar films that are still being released since Disney purchased them are still brilliant films. Look at the Marvel movies. Me as a comic book fan, I think the Avengers Phase One movies are some of the best movies that have ever been produced. And it's mostly because Disney is kind of playing hands off and saying, Marvel, here's your money, now make a good movie for us. And with with Marvel Comics themselves, Disney is letting them run, letting them do their thing. Um, so in the end, I don't necessarily think it would be a good or a bad thing, but I think it would be pretty much status quo for the gaming community and for Wizards of the Coast. I think they would probably feel the impact. Maybe the biggest impact they might feel is a little more income, because they would be part of the Disney universe, which is obviously, like its own small country itself. So they might have a little more, a slightly higher budget, if anything, and that would be good for Wizards of the Coast, good for gaming. So in the end, I don't think if it happened, it would impact our community and our gaming at all. We might actually get a really good D&D movie out of it, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, actually, save that movie franchise is if they gave it the Disney treatment at this point.
Yeah.
Um, a few last questions in regards to RPG design. Um, People were asking earlier about the usage of white space in a RPG document. Say you have your manuscript all typed out. How would you manage effectively white space versus art in a RPG document?
Wow. That's really more a question for our layout gal, who is not with us right now. Connie is uh, not available to be here. That's really, she's the one that handles all of that. And as far as I'm concerned, she's a wizard, and she just kind of waves her wand at the computer, and it does these brilliant things, that make our books look beautiful. I it's kind of a mystery to me. It's a side of the game, of the product, uh, of producing the product, that I have not actually actively been involved in. Other than she will occasionally ask me, turn her monitor towards me and say, "Does this look good?" And I say, "Yeah," and then she'll still mumble and fuss with it for an hour after I say it looks good, because she's not happy with it. So honestly, I don't. I'm sorry, I just don't have that. That's not a hands-on thing that I do. That's what she does, and I wish I could give a better answer, even an answer at all, but that's just not an aspect of the production that actively involved in, other than to say, yeah, I think that looks good. Um, I, as far as personal opinion of what I think looks good, I don't like a lot of white space. I don't like it when I open up a game book myself and I find uh, half a paragraph on a page and the rest of it is just white space. I've seen that occasionally, in various products. I think that's a waste of space and it looks ugly, even if at the end. Find a way, cut out a few lines or sentences earlier so that you get rid of that. Don't leave that there. Because if you've got that much white space, that's a lot of art to fill that up, and you don't, that's an expense that you may not necessarily need for that particular product as well. Um, I like as little white space as possible, as far as just a personal opinion. So I know that's probably not the answer that was being looked for, but that's the best I can give.
Sounds good. Other questions we had, as far as the general length of the documents that Four Winds publishes, are you looking to publish a bigger work or something more in the form of a digest? Something that's like a smaller, compact volume?
You mean are you talking the physical dimensions of the book,
Yes.
or okay, all right. For our Pathfinder line of products, we uh, we go with the more traditional book size, which is roughly 8.5 by 11, because that's what they publish in. Pathfinder books are that size. Um, we are probably going to go with a different size. We're probably going to go with digest size for Exploding Aces. That's not 100% decided, but it's about 98% decided that we are going to go with a digest size for Exploding Aces. And so I think it's going to depend on what we're publishing and what game it's for. Um, our Pathfinder compatible material will continue to be at that size so that it matches the size of the physical dimensions of the books that Paizo themselves publish. If we do decide that we want to produce some material for Savage Worlds, we are probably going to produce digest size material that would match like their Explorers edition of the Savage Worlds Deluxe rules. So that's going to be a case by case for whatever game system we're publishing for.
Sounds good. And it does seem we're about to run out of time here, though I do have just any last minute advice or any kind of quips or tidbits you'd like to add in at the end of our session today.
Um, write. If you want to be a game designer or game writer, just write. Um, create stuff for your game. Get advice from your players, and submit it to small companies. Uh, don't send us reams. Just send us a few sample, a couple of pages, a couple of paragraphs, a monster, an NPC, and send it to a small company and tell them with a cover letter who you are, what you did, and what you would like to do, and listen to their advice. If they tell you, if they come back and they give you some critique or advice, listen to it. Don't get heartbroken by it. It's hard in this. One thing you learn very quickly in this industry is don't wear your heart on your sleeve, because if you end up becoming being published, if somebody says we're going to publish your book, you're going to work on this, you're going to get a bad review. Even the best books, there's somebody that doesn't like it. And so you learn that quickly when you're trying to submit. Don't wear your heart on your sleeve. If somebody doesn't like it, make a few changes, submit it to somebody else. Do not give up. Keep writing, keep publishing, keep submitting, keep trying. If you want to get into the industry, keep doing it. So if you're good, somebody will recognize that. Somebody somewhere will. Keep at it.
Excellent, excellent. And it does appear that we are out of time currently. So I would like everyone to thank Robert for coming in today, and I do thank you as well. It was great having you today.
Well, I appreciate it. This has been a lot of fun.
Thank you. And next up, we are going to have Wolfgang Bauer of Kobold Quarterly up soon, and we will have that published up and broadcast in just a few moments on our YouTube stream. Thank you.
Thanks.